Alright, quick hot take. NVIDIA GeForce Now is officially on Linux, and after a week of testing I'm kinda blown away. Not because cloud gaming suddenly solved everything, but because this actually feels like the start of non-Windows gaming getting real momentum. Here's the hook. I installed the official GeForce Now client on a Linux box, booted my usual desktop, no dual boot, no Proton tinkering, no praying to the anti-cheat gods, and I was in Cyberpunk in minutes. Smooth, sharp, and shockingly low latency. Let me prove it. First, the setup. I grabbed the client, I signed into my Steam library, I signed into my Epic library, I signed into my Ubisoft library, clicked play, that's it. No shader compiling, no driver roulette, just a login wall and a green go. Performance. On the ultimate tier, I pushed 1440p at high refresh, and it held. Frame pacing felt consistent, inputs were snappy, and the picture quality, even with streaming compression, was crisp enough that I stopped thinking about it after 5 minutes. NVIDIA Reflex and their newer encoders are doing work here. I'm on a wired gigabit line. My round trip hovered in that you stop noticing it zone. In shooters, flicks felt natural. In racers, counter-steer timing clicked. Is it the same as a $2,000 local rig? No. But on Linux, not having to fight compatibility means you actually get to play the game you paid for. You're streaming Windows builds from NVIDIA's servers, so the usual anti-cheat mess on Linux, mostly sidestepped. If the game's supported on GeForce Now, it launches. Baldur's Gate 3, Helldivers 2, Forza, without swapping distros, without flipping Proton versions, or hunting community fixes. Ultimate tier gives you ray tracing where supported, DLSS, and high refresh options. 4K is on the table if your display and plan allow, and honestly, scaling down to 14 or 40p on a 27-inch panel looked fantastic. My Linux rig basically idled. Fans didn't spin up, power draw stayed low, and I could keep Slack, OBS, and a browser open without the usual desktop turning into a jet engine moment. Xbox Pad worked over Bluetooth instantly. Keyboard and mouse were flawless. Windowed, full screen, Wayland or X, no drama worth mentioning. Now, the caveats, because there are always caveats. Your internet matters more than your GPU. If your connection is inconsistent, you'll feel it. Bitrate dips, artifacting, or hiccups in busy scenes. And the library is good, but not everything everywhere. Some games aren't on board, some publishers play hard to get. The free tier is a sampler. Queues, shorter sessions. The paid tiers are where the magic happens, but you're essentially renting access to high-end hardware time. If you're already paying for the games and a tier, do the math. Okay, the future. This changes the Linux conversation. For years, Linux gaming meant, how much time do you have? Driver watch lists, Proton tweaks, per-game hacks. GeForce Now doesn't replace native ports or Proton's progress, but it removes the biggest practical blocker. Day one works. Out-of-the-box access to big Windows titles. If NVIDIA keeps pushing server-side upgrades, better encoders, lower latency paths, broader data center coverage, Linux suddenly isn't the if-you-know platform. It's just a platform. You pick the distro you like, run a lightweight client, and your games follow you. This also nudges hardware differently. If your main workload is browsing, coding, and gaming, a mid-range Linux machine plus a solid connection might beat the hassle of chasing GPUs every cycle. And for devs, testing on Linux gets simpler when players can stream a consistent environment. Will cloud fully replace local rigs? I don't think so. Competitive players, modders, tinkerers, local still rules. But for everyone else, this is the first time Linux feels like a first-class seat instead of a clever workaround. So here's my takeaway. If you've been Linux curious, this is your moment. Try the free tier, stress your network, see what your library looks like, and decide if the upgrade makes sense. For me, I'm equal parts impressed and optimistic, and that hasn't been true about non-Windows gaming in a long time. Alright, that's it. If you want me to test specific games, settings, or different distros, drop them in the comments. I'll pin my network setup and the client link below. See you in the next one. Your internet matters more than your GPU. Wired beats flaky Wi-Fi. If your connection is inconsistent, you'll feel it. Bitrate dips, artifacting, or hiccups in busy scenes. The library is strong, but not everything everywhere. Some games aren't on board, some publishers play hard to get. Free tier is a sampler, expect queues and shorter sessions. Paid tiers bring the magic, but you're renting high-end hardware time. If you're buying games plus a sub, do the math. For many Linux users, the trade-offs are finally worth it. When the stars align, connection, proximity, supported game, the experience just works. That's the difference today. Momentum you can feel.